Frank's Red Hot is the perfect blend of flavor and heat, so you can use an entire bottle to make recipes like buffalo chicken dip or buffalo nachos, or even things that don't start with buffalo. Frank's Red Hot, I put that on everything.
Hey, Craig. Hello.
It's homecoming.
Yay!
Neither of us are going home.
Too. No, neither one of us are. That is true.
Which is stranger for me than for you, but
yes.
Everyone.
How long has it been since you missed a homecoming? It's probably been a while.
2014, when I lived on the East Coast. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
So
weddings will get you, man.
Those fall weddings.
Fall weddings will get you.
Should be a good wedding. At least I get
better be.
At least I get free. So not only do I get free dinner out of it and free beer,
right.
but I get to stay in a cool tree house, and I get breakfast in the morning as well. So
nice. And
rehearsal dinner tomorrow night. So at least I get some free meals and beer out of it. So and for once I'll only have 2 consecutive weekends in Pullman this time instead of 3. So that
nice.
So maybe my liver will appreciate that, and my sleep schedule. But this is Podcast versus Everyone, episode 137, the Oregon State Homecoming Preview Edition. I am Craig Powers. With me is Jeff Newser. We're both tip-top shape, 100% energized to talk about the Beavs and Cougs, and can WSU keep that long 7-game win streak alive and extend it to 8, which is super fun to have over a regional rival. And I don't care what you say, the Beavs are a rival. They are the most similar school in the conference to us. I think in a world where the Huskies don't exist, the Beavs would be our hated rival. And if that conference realignment ever comes, where both of us are knocked down a peg, they might be our hated rival. But for now, they probably hate us because we've beat them 7 times in a row.
Yeah, I mean it's. We need more of the Big Ten rivalries, where it's Minnesota and Wisconsin have the old whatever it is. I don't know.
Yeah, it's always
what I mean.
Trophy. We need trophy.
Yeah,
games.
They've got trophy games all over that league, right? Where people, they just some two teams. It seems random, but no. They had a rivalry, 126 years ago.
Okay,
and
so do you actually have a guess as to what the Minnesota-Wisconsin trophy is?
No, I don't. What is it?
It is the battle. It is the winner gets Paul Bunyan's axe.
Oh, that's right. That's what it is.
What's the old
we need some shit
oaken
like
bucket
that
one? The old oaken bucket or whatever.
Yeah, that's the one that always comes to mind. The old. People are listening to this, just going I know the answer to that.
Okay, so Sherwood
Indiana.
would know this.
That's Indiana and Purdue.
Okay, that one makes sense. That's that's a rivalry you have. That's two public institutions in the same state.
In the same state, yes. But okay, so hold on. Now we're down this rabbit hole. Big Ten rivalry.
Ooh, I did not realize this. The Indiana Purdue football rivalry is very Apple Cuppy in terms of the imbalance of wins. Purdue has definitely dominated it.
Okay, hold on. Here we go. Illinois Northwestern. You've got the Land of Lincoln Trophy. Illinois Purdue. You got the Purdue Cannon. Okay, Indiana Michigan State. Which one is that one? The Old Brass Spittoon.
Right. So what? Before we get into this preview, what would be the Oregon State WSU trophy if we had a rivalry trophy? And then I would love if anyone listening to this can send us their suggestions on Twitter or on email. But yeah, so what would the Oregon State Corvallis Pullman rivalry be? That'd probably be something agricultural, right?
Yeah.
Or a vet school thing or something like.
Yeah.
Well,
I'll say that Michigan State, Penn State has the land grant trophy.
Well, we could just take that one.
Or you could go Minnesota, Nebraska and have the $5 bits of broken chair trophy. That is real. That is real. Okay. Let's see. What's another good one? Oh, Iowa, Nebraska is the Heroes Trophy. Iowa, Wisconsin is the Heartland Trophy.
So
this is hilarious.
So yeah, we'd have like the
and the Little Brown Jug between Michigan and Minnesota. You gotta love that one. Who could forget that one?
Well, yeah, WSU and it'd be a new rivalry trophy, so it would be like the hazy IPA tall boy trophy or something. Because Oregon State has a beer has a brewing program.
Yeah,
and we have a wine program.
Some good brewers in town.
We have a wine program, and they have a brewing program. So it'd have to be
something.
How's
Oregon State's dairy program? How's their creamery?
I think you have to have one if you're an agricultural land grant school, right?
Yeah.
This is what people want when they tune into this preview. Oregon State Creamery.
We're gonna play for the old. I don't know, man. We need people to suggest.
They also have a cheese that has a name.
Okay.
That
all right.
Looks like. So they call it Beaver Classic. I've never heard of this.
Okay.
And so they have cheese, honey, and meats.
Oh.
So WSU has some meats. I don't think we do honey, do we?
Not that I know of. It's possible.
But yeah, I think it should be something boozy. You know,
yeah.
like
I mean, that would. I don't know that would get sanctioned by the schools, though. They're
the cracked plastic chalice.
Yeah, I mean, we don't do. The world's largest outdoor cocktail party doesn't happen anymore. Because goodness knows that's not.
Well, what is it? You said Michigan and Wisconsin was the brown jug or something?
Yeah, little brown jug or old brown jug or whatever.
What do they think the brown
little
jug
brown
was
jug?
for?
There we go.
The brown jug was. That wasn't.
I know.
That was.
I know what you put in that jug. I know what was in the old oaken bucket too.
Someone will also come up with something for the shotgunned Coors Light trophy or something. Yeah. But I guess we can talk about football now. Now that we,
I guess.
All right. So 8 minutes in. Good job, everyone.
Yeah. We did it.
Let's talk about the football game. As always, we'll start with the Coug offense versus the Oregon State defense. Now, one thing I think we're pretty sure of at this point, and now I will say, Travell Harris said that WSU opened up their playbook a little bit in the last game. That got them 4.4 yards per play and 21 points. So if that was the opened up offense, I hope there's a few more layers because that still wasn't good.
Yeah, no, it wasn't. It was still pretty bad, pretty bad.
The good news is they're playing a worse defense than Cal, a much worse defense than Utah. So hopefully they can put up a few more points. WSU still, their offense is, there's not anything they're really doing well. If you look at the advanced stats, their WSU's offensive success rate on passing, 37%, 81st nationally, 34% on rushing, 94th nationally. They are 106th in EPA per pass, 107th in EPA per rush. So they're not efficient and explosive, and they're not staying ahead of the chains. It just hasn't been working, and it'd be really interesting to see these broken down by half, because the second half is probably just bad.
Yeah.
So yeah, they've just struggled mightily. Oregon State's defense, particularly bad against the run, real bad. They gave them a 48% success rate against the run, which is 118th nationally. So if they're pretty decent against the pass, 35th in success, or 38th in success rate, and 57th against in EPA. So I think we always say this. It seems like when there's a defensive weakness in any team WSU plays, it always seems to be the rushing attack. So hopefully maybe Max is feeling a little better, feeling a little more aggressive, and Dion mix him in, and maybe they can run the ball a little bit more in this game, because that's the biggest weakness for the Beavs, and they've actually been pretty decent against the pass, and WSU has not been good in the passing game. So maybe some runs. I don't know, man.
Yeah. I guess. I don't know, man. Max didn't look good against Cal. Obviously dealing with an injury of some variety. It just seems like he's always kind of at this point dealing with an injury of some variety, and that it's pretty frustrating, because obviously he's extremely talented. It kind of makes you wonder, like, okay, so is he more dinged up now because he's actually just running the ball more? Is he was he always more built for the air raid than anything else? Anyway, it's just kind of, it's tough to know right now. It's tough to tell. What I do know is that Dion McIntosh has been more effective. Especially kind of getting on those north-south runs. He's obviously difficult to tackle. We've talked about his really good balance. I don't know. Maybe that's there. I mean, this could end up being, I mean, I know we haven't, we're not to Oregon State's offense yet. So when we get there, I was just going to say, like, this could be a pretty low possession game.
Yep.
If we are able to find some space to run the ball, or if we are able to, extend some drives. We are not an explosive offense, as you already mentioned. So if we do have drives, they're likely to be a little bit longer if they are successful. And then, of course, Oregon State, as we'll talk about, is they run the ball like crazy. So I don't know, man. I hold out hope that the run and shoot at some point is gonna run the ball, but it does not feel like effectively running the ball is ever gonna be like a staple, if that makes sense, even if the other team is maybe potentially weak against the run. It just sort of seems like with the offensive schemes we have with the air raid, and then with the run and shoot, it just seems like it's the running game's always just going to be complementary to the passing game, which is okay if the passing game is real good, but right now they both suck. So I don't know. I don't feel great about banking on the running game sort of being excellent, because I just don't think that we'll ever commit to it on a level that will allow it to perhaps carry us in lieu of a of a passing game, similar to the way Oregon State has. And again, we're going to talk about this in a sec, but they sort of committed themselves to the run, and they've decided this is our identity. This is what we're going to do. I feel like for us to truly take advantage of a team that doesn't have a great run defense, that we'd kind of have to do that. And I just, I don't think that's going to happen.
Well, I think the big question is too with WSC's offense versus any defense is how do they replicate those kind of scripted drives, those first drives of the half for the rest of the game, because they look so effective early in the game. And then everything falls apart. I guess they get figured out, or we know they try the same things repeatedly that have worked, which is fine. But sometimes defenses have adjusted to that, where they very clearly adjusted to our kind of RPO double slant play, where we've now thrown interceptions in back-to-back games on the same play.
Yeah.
So that one, maybe let's take that. That one needs to take a beat. But yeah, maybe what Travell Harris said is true, and I mean I believe him that they added more, because there was definitely some plays. There was definitely some passing plays in particular that looked different. They used that one to clear out the one that Jackson scored his first touchdown on. They also used it effectively for Hobart to pick up a first down, where they kind of clear out the secondary for the inside receiver, and he just runs a little out route to the flat and gets an easy first down. Is wide open ideally. Mm-hmm. So they've used that one, and it just looked like there was some things that looked different. There has to be more to this passing game than what we've seen. And we know that they kind of have brought things along slowly because they've had young quarterbacks or quarterbacks not been in the system very much. So hopefully in this game, I think the biggest hope for them offensively is that there's more in the bag that they haven't taken out. And we get to see some of that, and maybe a little bit more healthy Jaden DeLaura can make a few more plays. And perhaps, they could at least run effectively on their runs, even though, like you said, we're never going to be a team that relies on the run in any game. But on the runs that they do have, hopefully they can pick up some nice chunks, move the chains, keep it going so that they can open up their passing game a little bit, and aren't kind of aren't facing a defense that's pinned back and knowing what we're going to be doing. So hopefully, they can mix up the plays, because really we've seen I'm sure their first drive and second drive of the game stats are amazing, and then it all just falls apart from there.
Yeah, I've seen this pop up. You're talking about opening up the playbook. I've seen this pop up a little bit this week, where people were sort of thinking back to the game against Oregon State last year, and that first game, and which oddly enough represents the high water mark for the offense. Mm-hmm. Except for maybe I guess Portland State.
Yeah, but
whatever.
It's relative.
Right. So they scored whatever it was 38 points, right? And we're like, wow, okay, all right, this is it. This is the offense. This is cool, right? And there were all these vertical passes and explosive plays, and obviously that has not sustained. And I do think that the vertical passing game is really kind of the big difference, in that. That part of the playbook has pretty much disappeared. Just the straight vertical pass down the sideline, or getting people down the seams, something like that.
Well, yeah, they've definitely tried.
We just haven't seen them.
I mean, there's been a few they've tried for sure. Deshaun Stribling dropped a touchdown on a vertical route, and Jaden DeLaura underthrew Jackson on a nice little vertical wheel route on a different time. So we've seen it. And Jaden threw an interception on another, but it's just I wonder if they don't use it as much because Jaden's just not throwing it well, not recognizing it well.
Maybe.
Although he put that one right on the money for Stribling, and he just dropped the ball. So I mean, it was a tough.
It's possible,
tough catch, but because if that comes back, Like, this offense is going to look completely different. Like, if we can hit against this, kind of not great Beavers defense, although they are pretty decent against the pass, but if they can hit some big plays, things will look way different because they just aren't in a position where they can sustain drives that well over the course of a game. And so they really, really need to stretch that defense. They have players that can do it. It's just the quarterbacks haven't been able to deliver on the throws, I think, most often.
Yep. So that seems like the biggest difference from where we thought the offense would be and where it actually is.
Yeah.
Is just that is just not really part of the it's not really part of the playbook.
Also, it would be very nice to have Renard Bell in that regard.
Yeah, another vertical threat. And for whatever reason, Travell Harris hasn't really been part of that either, which is sort of an odd thing. You would think
he caught the first
he would be
that on a vertical route, the first touchdown from Jaden last year against Oregon State.
Yeah. So I don't know. Like I kind of got the sense that there was a game against Oregon State, and it was like, all right, this is what we kind of do now. Then there was the game against Oregon. Where, it worked pretty well in the first half, and then, of course, second half didn't go great. And then it all comes crashing down against USC, right? Like, and we just kept taking shots against USC, and it was shot after shot after shot, and it wasn't working out. And some of them were interceptions, and, like, it was bad, right? And, you almost get the sense that teams just went, all right, that's what you're trying to do? Okay, we're going to take that away. And we're going to make you dink and dunk your way down the field. And we just have really not been able to do it, And that was, the funny part of it is that's what we got used to watching with the air raid every week, right? Like, we knew that the air raid wasn't going to go vertical very often. The air raid was only going to go vertical if, like you truly, blew a coverage or something and somebody was wide open down the sideline. Otherwise, they were trying to work it underneath, trying to work it horizontally. So to kind of see the opposite of that where, they want to go deep, but they can't. And so now they are relegated to working underneath, and they also can't do that really very well either. Quarterback's not a super accurate intermediate passer. And, and I don't know what's going on with the receivers. I don't know the run and shoot well enough to have, big, strong opinions on what the receivers are doing, nor can we really see it all that well from the camera angles. So, I don't know exactly what's happened, but I do know that Delora is not the most accurate passer. He's not always, super decisive about where to go with the ball. And, those two things sometimes make it a little tough to kind of take what the defense gives you underneath, which then, potentially could open up some, if you can really punish them that way, potentially that could open up something vertical, but the as you mentioned, the EPA per pass of 106, tells you that essentially you are neither efficient nor explosive, and that is a very, very bad combination. There were times with the air raid where we were efficient but not very explosive, successful, right? Like we were, kind of, picking up, smaller chunks of yardage to keep the chains moving, particularly, Luke Falk's last couple of years. But right now we're not doing either of those things. And that is that's a bad combination, a really bad combination.
Yeah. And, as we, transition here to, Oregon State's offense, I don't want to say Oregon State's crushing it on field position. I'm kind of curious to why they don't have a great, kick returner or a great punt returner or anything. So, I'm wondering how they're pulling that off, but they
do have a fair number of turnovers, takeaways.
That would be
they're getting about 2 takeaways a game, so that would be my best guess without kind of looking at the rest, because the offensive field position is much better than their defensive field position. Mm-hmm. When you look at WSU's field position, they're both relatively equal. But obviously the field position's tilted pretty heavily for Oregon State toward the offense, which, my best explanation would be the turnovers. That'd be my best guess.
Yeah. And, the weirdest thing about Oregon State's offense, let's start talking about their offense now, is they run the ball a lot.
Yeah.
Like a lot. It is nuts. That you just don't see.
And it's good.
Yep, they do it really well. They are not getting the returns are not diminishing. If you adjust for sacks, they run the ball on almost 61% of their snaps. That is nuts.
It's bananas.
And they, as Jeff said, they do it really well. They are 21st in EPA per rush, and they are 7th in rushing success rate. It's always funny when a team is really good at something on one side of the ball and really terrible at the same thing on the other side of the ball. It's like, are you not valuing the same things? Like, but yeah, so they run the ball really, really well, which is of course terrifying against our defense, who is equal opportunity. They're bad against the pass and the run, but they are worse against the run. They started out kind of okay against the run, but I think it was mostly because teams were having so much success against the pass, and they just kind of abandoned it after like one bad run. But yeah, they're sitting at 84th in defensive success rate against the run and 107th in EPA per rush against the run. Real bad. And as you said, Jeff, this is where that thin middle of the defensive line gets real scary.
Yeah. They performed well against Cal. Do we take hope from that?
I
don't know.
I mean, they did, but both of Cal's running backs that got significant runs averaged well over 5 yards a carry.
That's true.
So
that's true.
It may have just been a function of Cal's offense and how they operate and throw the ball a lot more. But they're not getting bailed out by that in this game. They did pretty well against the run against USC too, but they got absolutely shredded on the back end.
Yeah, that's more of a function of we can throw the ball whenever we want. So we're just going to throw it whenever we want. I don't know. Like I have not watched Oregon State closely enough to know how they do it. I just know that they do it. So I don't know, man. It's I mean they did it to us in the second half of the game last year too. If you remember, that was sort of the story of the game after halftime was they just started. They were like, oh yeah, we got this awesome running back. Let's give him the ball.
Now it's a different awesome running back who's been waiting behind Jamar Jefferson. But they have to have a litter of names, so it's B.J. Baylor to play running back at Oregon State. You have to have the same same initial first and last. So
yes,
that's just how it is.
Must be alliteration.
Yep. So B.J. Baylor over 6.5 yards a carry, 9 touchdowns already in 5 games. That's a lot. 81 carries in 5 games. Which is not a lot, is 16 carries a game. It is a lot kind of in this modern college football game. But they use 2 other running backs. Deshaun Fenwick, he gets about 7 carries a game. Trey Lowe has gotten about 4 carries a game. Chance Nolan will run the ball as well. The running back, the quarterback, he's mobile. So he's part of their running game. And then, of course, they use a linebacker, Jack Coletto, close to the goal line, and he has 4 touchdowns on 14 total carries this season. So they love to run the ball, establish that run. They already have 1,145 rushing yards. That's even with sacks this year in 5 games. That's what they want to do, and they do it really well. And I don't really trust WSU's defense to stop that.
Yeah, the key here, it seems to be, is okay. So they run the ball a lot. The quarterback has been described. I've heard him described as a game manager, but I don't know if I'd kind of describe him that way. Not because he shoulders a bunch of the load, but because they use him to generate big pass plays. Mm-hmm. Like that's his yards per attempt. I don't have it in front of me.
9.
But I know it's fairly high.
Yep.
Yeah, it's very high. And as I'm looking, it's like I would guess that they kind of go about things in the way we just got done watching the Seahawks lose. I would guess they kind of maybe go about it in a similar way to the way Pete Carroll would love to go about it with Russell Wilson, which is run, play action pass, run, play action pass. That would be sort of my guess. Because as I'm looking, they at their EPA and their early downs and things like that, their early downs EPA is 9th nationally. So they're not just being successful on early downs, which they are, but they're also like generating big plays on early downs. And they're picking up chunks, on early downs. And so WSU is going to have to essentially, I think, have the same sort of game plan, or it's not really game plan, but strategy. I don't know if it's even strategy, maybe results. Sequencing is going to matter here, I guess is the way I'll put it. Like, they're going to have to somehow figure out a way to get Oregon State off schedule to some degree and put them in obvious passing situations where they're not, of two minds trying to defend the run and, oops, we just got hit for a big pass, over the top or right, through us or whatever. That's going to be key. Now, obviously that's easier said than done. WSU was able to do it against Cal. That was a lot of what happened with Cal was they sort of put Cal in, funky down and distance situations that they couldn't get out of, right? So there were some negative plays with sacks, some tackles for loss on runs, and then, Cal gets, somewhat, discombobulated and can't figure out, how they want to attack, 3rd and 9 or whatever. And then, they end up with, 4th and 4, and then they don't get 4th and 4. Right. So, I think somehow WSU is going to have to, if they're going to be successful, they're going to have to try and do that sort of a thing. But are they going to be able to? I doubt it. I mean, I think we all would agree that Washington's run defense is several orders of magnitude better than ours. And they gave up I'm trying to remember the number, but it was an insane amount of rushing yards that they gave up. So
242.
There you go.
50
Yeah.
attempts.
Yeah. So I like I said, you're going to have to count on them putting them behind the chains, but I mean, I just don't know how that's going to happen. So.
Yeah, I'm trying to, like, we're basically asking for something that hasn't really happened against an offense like this before. We're hoping that the defense plays better than we've seen them play before, which, I mean, they do seem to be on the rise, if you will. But this is going to be one of the best offenses they've played this season, and definitely the best offense they played in the last 3 weeks. So it's going to be, this will be a true test for that thin defensive line, where last game Cal drops back to pass a lot. Defensive line could use that to their advantage with their quickness and rush the passer. But this can be a little tougher against a team that's not looking to do that.
Yep.
Yeah, interesting enough, Washington's run defense is not good this year. That may be a function of playing Oregon State and stuff, but they are 101st in EPA per rush, or 104th in EPA per rush, and that is worse than WSU. So maybe we will only give up 242 yards on 50 carries.
Maybe.
I would definitely expect Oregon State to rush for well over 200 yards in this game.
Yeah.
But the one thing that might keep any yardage down, like you said, will be the fact that the clock's going to be running in this game a lot, and there's going to be minimal possessions. Maybe that works to the favor of WSU, because it seems like the more possessions WSU's offense has, the worse it does. And so I don't know. Maybe as we stretch out the game, if it's instead of being 12 or 13 possessions, it's only 10. Those 3 good possessions we'd have on offense become much more valuable. If they're early, if you're saying like the last 3 are usually garbage, we get that one or those 3 of those first 10, we get those points. So what we need to do is finish those drives, which they did well against Cal. They finished the drives that they had, and they're definitely going to need to do that here. And they're going to have to, in those tighter spaces, hope that they can force some field goals against the Beavs, and maybe keep those long drives to 3 points or whatever. Maybe get some fourth down stops. Just they need to do the bending, but not the breaking.
Yeah.
And that's how you can flip a game where you're not favored. Oregon State's 3.5 point favorite. We got Stats of War at Stats of War CFB Graphs has them as about that, roughly that, a little bit over. But so that's what the stats are saying. That's what Vegas is saying, is it's a 3 or 4 point game. So how do you flip that? You convert when you have the opportunity. You stop them when they do. And you just maybe of course a turnover. One more turnover by the Beavs and one less for us would be great.
Yep, that'll do it. I mean, you look at them on 3rd and 4th down. I mean, they're nothing special on 3rd or 4th down. They're 49th nationally in that, which is of course a little bit above average, but nothing super special there. They most teams aren't, right? Like, and
plus, like, just to show the difference, like so they're a little less than 2% higher in success rate on 3rd and 4th down. WSU, that's a 25 spot difference. WSU is 74th. So in one game, 2.5% means nothing. It's both 4 out of 10 or 5 out of 10 for the same, right? Like they're at the same time. They're at the same success rate if you're looking at one game. So
yep. So get them into those positions. Hopefully, they come down on a little bit underperform what they typically have done, and maybe get lucky.
Takes instead of having them be 4 of 9 on 3rd down, they're 3 of 9 or 2 of 9.
Right.
Like that's the difference in the game right there. Like that was the difference in Cal and WSU. Cal was 3 of 15 and WSU was 7 of 15. Those 4 conversions made the game. The extended drives, they got points out of those drives, and that's what matters, right? So we just
I mean, even 1 or 2 stops, like even just 1 or 2 stops
in such a short possession game.
Like you mentioned, I mean, if you're only talking 10 possessions, and they convert 1 or 2 fewer 3rd or 4th downs, and those turn into punts or turnover on downs or something. I mean, those are drives that don't end in points. At that point, essentially, that's as good as a turnover, right? I mean, that's the old cliche. So if you can somehow get 1 or 2 more stops than you normally would, I mean, that's, that can have a pretty dramatic effect on the bottom line.
Yep. So that's what you should be looking for. Just getting off the field any way possible, because otherwise, like, this is going to be a grind of a game, probably a short college football game, I would imagine. Hopefully Jaden can play, up his level of play. Hopefully they can mix some new things in. Get just one more scoring drive into the mix would help. They can get 2 or 3. They had two against Utah, and then they had 2 against USC. They had 3 against Cal. Maybe let's build it to a 4th scoring drive against Oregon State and see what happens, right? Ooh. Like, how cool would that be?
Feeling ambitious.
How cool would that be? I would love to see that, a 4th scoring drive. We had 4 against Utah State, but let's get that 4th scoring drive against a Pac-12 team for the first time in a while, and let's see what happens. Yeah, again, I'm looking at 10 possessions in this game. 10 or 11 maybe. If you can get 2.5 points per possession, you're probably in a good 2 or 3. And if you get 3, man, you're probably in a good spot. So keep an eye on that. So I guess here we are, Jeff. Here we are. Let's get to predictions. Let's, as always, as of the last 2 weeks, let's do your first half prediction.
All right. I think the first half is going to be fairly exciting. Ooh. And I'm going to go 17-14 Cougs.
3 scoring
in the
drives.
First half. 3 scoring drives in one half. 3 in one half. So that's going to be my halftime score. And then
Hold on, no. I do my.
Oh, that's right. You're going to do your halftime score first. Okay. Go ahead.
All right. So my halftime score, I'm feeling optimistic about the first half offense like you. But I'm going to say they convert them all for TDs. But I also think that Oregon State also does the same thing. So I'm going to go 21-21 at halftime.
Yes. I like it. All right. So I think for some reason I am feeling optimistic about the Cougs.
It's weird what a win does, my man.
Yeah, I think it's partly that. And then I think it's partly just I don't know if you remember a few years ago, but I kind of, when we were predicting the season and we were talking about our chances against Utah, and I was like, you know what? We own Utah until proven otherwise. And of course it got proved otherwise. So, whatever. But like this, I feel like this is sort of a similar kind of deal, right? Where it's like, look, for right now, we own Oregon State until we don't. And so I'm just going to roll with Jonathan Smith is cursed against the Cougs. And so I'm going to go for a final score of 27-24 WSU. Low scoring, slug it out second half, 27-24 Cougs. They not only cover, but they win.
Cover and win. Let's see, I got 21-21. It always seems like those games that have high-scoring first halves temper out pretty quickly in the second half or explode to some obscene number. I don't think that's going to happen this one, in large part because of those limited possessions. But let's see. I am feeling optimistic too, but that running game in the second half for Oregon State kind of scares me. So I think WSU will show offensive improvement. They'll continue. They will actually score in multiple drives in the second half. So they'll get up to 31. They'll get a touchdown and a field goal up to 31. But the Beavs will score 2 touchdowns in the second half to win 35-31 and cover. Gosh, how devastating is that? So 35-31 Beavs. I guess I'm not as optimistic as you, Jeff, but I'm rooting for you to be right here.
Me too. Like I said, I'm feeling good. We got to win. I want to believe all those people out there who tell me that Jake Dickert is awesome, and I want to go with those people because I want to believe them. So I'm gonna roll with it.
If I'm wrong, I want all the listeners, like if the Cougs win, what I want you to do, if you're listening and you have Twitter. My Twitter is @theCraigPowers. If WSU wins, and I'll probably be sitting and watching a wedding ceremony right after the game. So, after that ends and maybe we go to the reception, I'll check my phone and see. But I want you to tweet me out that Will Ferrell, what an idiot gif from Old School, right? No, not Old School. What is it from?
I'm not sure.
The Meatloaf. Right? What an idiot gif. Whatever. Tweet that at me. He's in the robe. What? Why can't I remember?
Yeah.
What movie that's from?
I don't know. I don't remember which one it is either. Now.
Of course, it's Wedding Crashers. Okay.
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
So for the Will Ferrell Wedding Crashers gif, what an idiot. Please tweet that at me if Oregon State loses to WSU and continues the win streak. I will happily read those gifs. Please don't do the other with Jeff if the Cougs lose, because he's already going to be sad because the Cougs lost. So, but you will make me happy if I'm just flooded with gifts telling me I'm an idiot after the game. And
yes, that'll make you
yes,
smile.
and also I think this should be a tradition. If we ever pick the Cougs to lose and they win, you should just send us gifts to tell us how big of idiots we are. So yeah, that is our preview. 35-31 Beavs for me. Jeff went 27-24 Cougs. I already said my Twitter. Instagram is not going to be as fun this weekend because I won't be in Pullman at Craig W. Powers. Jeff on Twitter at Pod versus Everyone. If you have questions, podcastvseveryone@gmail.com. And yeah, go Cougs, Jeff.
Go Cougs, Craig. Black Lives Matter.